Like all the superstars back in the day, like they don't show themselves much.
Yeah.
Now the superstars on Instagram
Too
and
accessible.
telling about their life. Don't tell anyone about your life. They won't like you.
I don't want anything about my life. I'll be
They'll like you even more.
I'm like a ninja. I don't want to know anything.
Welcome back to the Searchers Podcast, where we are on the search for truth, for love. Well, love is the main one, right? It's always
about love.
It's always just about love.
That's what makes the world, tick.
And I think right now, the world needs a lot of love. We need a lot of love. You guys need a lot of love. And we're here to provide it. And we have a guest here today who shows a lot of love in a lot of ways. We have Pete Borgna here.
Borgna.
I'll try to explain what I've seen so far, but you give the best intros. But Pete is a self-defense specialist who teaches people how to flip people around and stab them in the leg when they
Yeah, that and like keep you and your loved ones safe, man.
and keep you on. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. I didn't really get to.
You only stopped at the first video.
Yeah.
Let's start with the martial arts stuff. So
Sure, if you want.
you when did you start that? When did you start doing martial arts?
Yeah, look, I've been doing it since a kid, eh?
Yeah.
I've always been. So I grew up in more of a rural town.
Where'd you grow up in, Petey?
I grew up near Cairns.
Tully.
Yeah.
Tully.
What is Tully? What's Tully? That's the town?
That's the town.
Yeah, it's
Tully.
near Cairns.
It's an amazing place.
I don't know about that.
Anyone tuning in, Tully is the sugarcane capital of Queensland.
Yeah, so anyway, not a lot to do.
Lived on a sugarcane farm.
On a sugarcane farm?
Work and play sports. That's all you do. So I was
Sheesh.
just did all the sports, but also was just always interested in the fighting arts just as a kid. So dabbled around when I was a kid with whatever was up there, which is not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And boxing and taekwondo and all that type of jazz. Then when I got to the big smoke, just much more stuff down here. And when I found Krav Maga, that's when I jumped on it. I was like, oh yeah, this one's for me.
What made you say that one's for me?
Oh, because I've always been about, for me, like personal life philosophies and how I lead my life. What is the best thing? Not my opinion on something. It's like, what is the best thing? So how can I achieve? And if I find what the best outcome is in whatever it is, to buy a cereal, the best way to cross someone over for my height in basketball.
Yeah.
Like
Best things in life.
The best.
the nutrition,
Always the best.
like find what the best is with no bias, and then I go, okay, Krav Maga seems to be the most practical. There's no it's not really a sport, right? And so I just wanted something that was practical and reality based, and that was the best one. And I went, all right, I'm going to smash this one. I have dabbled in lots and lots of other arts because you can always take something from somewhere,
Yeah.
and I'll implement it in. But that's my baseline, the Krav Maga.
Were you ready when you first got into it? 'Cause I'd assume most people aren't ready.
Physically ready or mentally?
Both.
In the martial arts world, I think everyone hesitates on it.
Yeah.
Am I ready? Mentally and physically, am I ready? Because it's a bit of a daunting thing to walk into like a fight gym on something.
Yeah.
It's not like a sporting team. It's because you're walking into violence, right? But you're talking about violence. You're practicing violence. You're facing violence.
So I'm a practitioner, just so you know, Atem. I've done my first 2 levels in Krav Maga.
That's right.
What are you, a white belt?
No, first 2 levels.
I forgot that he trained under me. I totally forgot.
I did my first 2 levels. I got the kids involved. The kids, got through all the kids stuff. So they all know it, and they train under Petey.
Yeah.
It was, I think the thing that what Petey's not talking about is how practical and effective it is in every single movement. So the thing that the reason I did it, aside from Petey being the practitioner and the kids getting into it, is because what it's really about is taking care of a situation and then getting out of that situation so you can survive. It's not about not fighting. It's not like engaging. You're not trying to feed your ego. You're really acting as aggressively as needed and then getting out of there and then living to fight another day.
How do you simulate something that crazy? Like that's good. Those circumstances
it is
are
literally awesome. Like again, I'll let Petey talk on it, but then I'll tell you the actual my experience and my kids' experience, and it's actually one of the coolest things you can do. But
I always wondered where you got that bruise from. Like,
that's why I stopped. Like once you start getting beaten up and you lose your looks, yeah.
Some people don't have a lot to give.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to. This guy's still looking pretty, but I didn't have a lot to lose, so I had to get out early. 2 levels all I had. But can you answer that question, Petey? Like, how do you simulate it? Because I think that was one of the things I took out of it and even transferred into basketball was how you made. I'd describe it the energy and the violence of it as real as possible, so that people had to respond and learn to respond to that level as best they could without actually being in the level.
Yeah, so look, it's the yin and yang of it, right? Like, we deal in violence so we don't have to. So I train for it, I experience it, so I don't want to have to deal with it. Yeah. Because stuff like violence, which we're lucky in a Western civilization, we don't deal with it a whole lot compared to other places. But violence can visit anyone at any time. Doesn't matter who you are, what you believe in. Like, someone has a disagreement, wants to hurt you. So for that, it's like, I just want to be prepared because of what I hold dear. I just want to be able to defend them. And the biggest thing that maybe some people don't even realize is when you deal with physical violence, you're dealing with something that's the most primal reality thing in the world, is when someone's standing in front of you and they want to injure and hurt you. There's nothing more real in the world than that. Like, love goes probably all the way, but I think personal violence takes it one little bit step more, where it's like, you're in the world, and whatever exists in your world that you have fears and love and it all dissipates when violence is staring you right in the face. And when you can deal with that, when you start to have a mental capacity for it, you understand a lot more about yourself and what you can handle, and then you can actually walk in the world with a bit more confidence. Right now, when you have an opinion or you want to talk about something, you can say it with your chest a little bit. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But it has so much carryover. Like, even for an office worker, sits and all their world is, mate, is go to their office and they have their office politics and dealing with their job. And I'd done a little bit of that in my time, and it's just a world I just didn't like a lot. But you get people who wrapped up in their worlds and their office politics, and the whole world is just their office desk, and then they'll create problems and either egos. And I'll be sitting in meetings and people are getting flustered and bothered, and I'm just like, this is nothing.
It's not even real.
This is not real. Yeah, this is nothing. Like, my blood pressure is still the same, and everyone else is getting flustered and bothered. It's like, when you can put yourself through challenges and face it, then everything's in perspective.
But once so now I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I gotta ask this: when a situation arises, you get like a little like. Not excited, because violence is not exciting, but it's...
Get excited.
You know what I mean? Like,
Atem, I wouldn't say Atem is a non-violent person.
Very not, yeah.
He's not preaching non-violence. He's gone that way more recently, but I would say that Atem performs best under more elevated situations where somebody comes at him with a certain level of energy. That's what sort of triggers him to perform at his highest level.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
That's and
speak for me everywhere we go, please.
And to that point, you look for that, right? Which is not always common. No, you look for that to lift yourself up.
Yeah.
And so, and that's not always common. So, like, most people don't, looking for that, Yeah. So Tem sort of, when he hears this, he's like, "Ooh, I could get into this." But I think that's different. So I guess back to the original point, how do you teach it for people who aren't like that, who aren't looking for it? How do you teach them to get out of their comfort zone so that they're now faced with a level of intensity that they normally would avoid?
Mate, you asked $1 million question. That's what the society's problem is right now, is going out and facing some adversity. It's putting yourself in positions to challenge and put yourself through something that's uncomfortable, the adversity. Mate, you answer that question.
But how do you do it in your training sessions?
My training session.
So I walk into a gym.
You're not that person.
Like you're not that person.
Never been in a fight.
I'm really calm. I'm nice.
It's not easy, right? It's not easy. This is why you have to take it in baby steps. So sometimes you see some videos or kind of the training I want to be doing and delivering. You can't, right? You can't, just because you get a kid, you're teaching him how to count, then you'll teach him additional, then the multiplication tables. Man, algebra and calculus are so far down the track. But I got to get you there at some point, because real life, for us, it's like, it is that violence. So even though in the first few steps, for especially people who aren't even in this space, like Atem, I don't have to worry about, I don't think, but there are people who like never face so much adversity in their life, or that physical, even being in sports, you get that little bit of,
Yeah, because sport is part of that. You know,
you already get it.
You see it that way.
You're competing.
You're already
But
competing.
some people don't even have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they've never really had that. And society's even now all about no confrontation
Yeah.
at all.
And so when I went to the gym with you, there was a number of people in there who obviously weren't athletes, who were, I would say, almost fearful, and they're there to learn some skills. How do you get them to, I guess, begin to work towards that self-confidence? Like, what's the, you know, I guess there's skills are involved, so you'll learn some skills first, and then, you know, what were some of the other tricks and techniques you sort of use to get to expose them?
So it's always foundational, right? So you got to give them tools that they feel like they can use. So a lot of our training, as you know, with like the Krav Maga and some of the other military fighting stuff I do, like kinetic fighting, which is the Australian Army stuff, it's all mindset. At the end of the day, people think it's the moves and the techniques. The actual weapon is this, right? But to get people here, right, I got to give you things that you can practically, tangibly hold and use. So it gets you doing basic stuff, basic striking, the holds that you will do and how to get out of them. It's all soft initially, to the point I'm like, that's not real. But the problem, you got to start somewhere, especially for those type of people you're talking about.
Yep.
And then once you start to get these tools and putting them about, then after a while we go, now this is when you pull out that tool, this is how you're going to pull out that tool. And now, instead of learning to how to nail with a hammer, for some people, holding a nail and just using a hammer is like the most physical thing they've ever done. We'll do it on a piece of wood, you just practice. Then after a while, I've got to get you building this house. So now you're going to be upside down, you're going to be doing different things, and I've got to slowly build you up. But I give you the tools first, then eventually it's starting to add, which is the big thing. And this is a sporting thing too, not just fighting.
Yeah.
I've got to add these tools under stress. I've got to slowly put stress on you, because whenever you're going to use these tools, you will be stressed. So it's a slow build. Takes a while. Some people quicker than others, and I do find the athletic sports people do pick it up quicker because there is that kind of background. It's just about translating it. But yeah, not easy.
Yeah. I think the thing I noticed was that often the embarrassment associated with going outside of your body. So one of the drills you do is someone's come to attack you, and you have to yell at them, you know, to back off, to, you know, stay back, and you got to make a big show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're sitting there with a group of people, and someone's coming to attack you, and you're like, you know, yelling at them as loud as you can. And that in itself is
That's uncomfortable for
very
you.
uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
You know, because now you're yelling. Why am I yelling?
Yeah.
Because generally people don't yell.
Yeah.
And it's such an effective tool, but it immediately lifts the energy, changes the whole thing, because someone's yelling at, you know, somebody else.
Not scared.
Yeah, like I'm taking a step forward, and that was a really
Having to be assertive.
yeah, like you have to, and that was really difficult, and I think that was a really cool drill. And then, you know, there's other little things that really change your mindset around what you're capable of. In terms of bringing that energy. And I think those, to me, you know, were the most challenging things, because you can do all the techniques you want dead quiet. You know, there's no intensity, no one's attacking you. Even in a drill, like, you know, someone is attacking and you're doing holds or whatever. But as soon as you're yelling, as soon as you're actually now demonstrating, you know, coming to get you, that changes it. And that's one of the things I really liked about the sessions, was that you had to get out of your comfort zone and you had to be the show.
What was it like for the kids?
Yeah, it's the same. So they, you know, they're not really loud, boisterous, you know, kind of acting kind of people. They're more reserved. So for them to, you know, do those things was a big deal for them. You know, they wanted it to be more fun. You know, like we're learning, and it was I guess the kids version as well. So it wasn't as aggressive, but it was more fun. They loved the skills, the techniques, and they could see how it worked. But I think anyone who and sports the same thing. The higher the levels you go, the more the intensity is, and at some point your brain freezes and you can't handle that intensity.
Yeah.
And fighting's the same. So, you know, someone's coming to hurt you, they're actually intense, they're yelling at you. You know, you've got those classic, you know, flight, fight, freeze, flee, whatever. Like there's another fourth one. I can't remember what it is.
Submit is usually.
Submit? Yeah.
Fight, freeze, flee, and submit.
Yeah. So they
Freeze, flee, and submit is like a standard abbreviation thing that you got.
It's the 4 primal responses that the brain goes under when it goes into, I forget all the medical terms on it. I've read it.
Yeah.
But under high levels of stress, we go back into what the lizard brain. And under those high stresses where the brain, the amygdala maybe it's working on, we have that stress response. And under that high level stress response, you get that fight, flee, freeze. They're the main 3. And then the other one's submit. But submit only really happens in same species, right? So something of the same species will submit. If you submit out of species, you get eaten.
Yeah. Right? So but then you see people do that.
Yeah, and that's training is trying to break some of those, because under high amounts of stress, especially physical violence, you see this in sports, especially when people choke.
Yeah.
Under that high intensity pressure, they'll have that freeze, right? And that freeze part is where they're not. By the way, all 3 of them, they're not inherently good or bad. Yeah, they all serve purposes.
Sometimes you gotta hit the. Sometimes you gotta
run.
Yeah, sometimes
running's not a bad thing.
That's the best policy. I'm not afraid to admit I've done that before, and it was very happy that I did it.
They all have their place.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta avoid. Like you're playing basketball, and some guys like coming down, you get smashed. Just avoid that one.
Yeah.
You know,
retreat.
On that one play, like it's literally. But I think that people who never get put in those situations, because I think what I loved about it was it allowed you to be present during those energetic situations, and then you can make a decision during them. I think it's when it's almost catches you by surprise that you go to that lizard brain, as you said, where you're like, oh my goodness, like this is attacking me now, and it's just an automatic response. Whereas if you're present and you know someone's attacking you and you've got some skills and you're like, you can deflect that energy almost and just stick to what you're meant to do in that situation, now you got a chance. And I think that was one of the coolest things that I learned from it, was that like having skills and knowledge around firstly what the other person's trying to do and then how to respond to it gives you an opportunity to respond the way you want to respond rather than just what's automatic. So
it's more mental, like you said.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how much it is all mental.
I just read something that said the universe is mental. Kind of woo stuff, but I've realized in sports, combat, when you like unlock that like I heard 50 Cent say, when 50 Cent was like,
who's 50 Cent?
Just some guy with a dumb name.
Said some stuff.
Said some stuff. Who's been through some things, like a lot of people. And it was like
2 quarters.
It's like now, like people think I'm crazy because when a problem arises, my first step is towards it. And the person who's creating the problem sometimes retreats and is in shock because they don't expect that. But then also they were like, it just gives me confidence knowing that when a problem arises, not always, but I have the courage to step towards it.
Yeah.
And that unlocking that is like going to punch the bully back, at least standing up to that bully. Like, can you see when that switches to people? Like, can you kind of see that, or you have to just walk them through it?
Yeah, but then again, I can find a scenario where it won't switch as good. Yeah. So I can see the growth in people, especially beginners, because just remember the way society's set up, it's the opposite of how I got to get people to think and act. Yeah. Right? Like, we've got to be not nice to not nice people. And there's going to be a moment in time where you're going to be nice to everyone, but at this moment, I got to break all the taboos that you have been brought up in. All right? And so I can see in the first beginning stages, some people, when they start training for a while, like Kirron, got a couple of those little early early ranks.
When he was a little beginner,
Yeah.
just
And P2, I'm coming back. I'm gonna come back 2024. I'm gonna do those 2 courses again, and then I'm gonna upgrade to advanced.
You've been retreating a lot
You're
recently.
You're gonna see me on some videos. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna make some martial arts videos.
That's cool. That's actually really cool. The mental, I like the mental aspect of that. You know, that's amazing.
Well, again, it's real. That's what I really enjoyed about it, is because the training makes it as real as possible.
Yeah.
You know, without it in a controlled environment. And you know, your brain's really clever in the sense that it goes, I know what we're training for, and therefore it's not scared. Yeah. Whereas, you know, when you can get it to situations where it's as real as possible, so you kind of, you know, it's bordering on, oh, this is a bit serious. Now your brain actually has to respond.
So when you guys were in Townsville tearing up the night scene there.
Townsville.
Because I've heard a lot about Townsville. It's a great place, lovely place. But sometimes violence happens.
Townsville, well, I enjoyed Townsville. I thought
As per usual, it's time and place. The time and the place was great.
It was.
Take me there now, I'm going to be running out of
the 70s was wild, right?
The 70s was amazing. 70s. Like, we were George Roberts, JCU. Yeah,
what is that?
That was the university.
Oh, that's the
university up there, yeah.
JCU?
Yeah, JCU.
So have you guys ever been side to side?
Basketballing? Yeah, there's a basketball club up there. Like,
no. I'm not letting you crawl out of this one. No.
It was into like, what do you call it? Colleges? The colleges? Inter-college sports.
Yeah.
Some uni games up there.
Have you ever had to defend yourselves together? Nah. That'd be cool.
Not really. Hey, not during that time.
No, I had quite a few friends get in dust-ups during that time.
Dust-ups.
Quite a few of them. And a lot of it was interesting because a lot of them were all ethnic type guys, a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
So they were always getting a little bit getting picked on sometimes, and they were getting in dust-ups. But I just wasn't there. I was always out I always did de-escalate a lot of stuff. I was good at talking.
Yeah. I say that, yeah. I've never been anywhere. I wasn't there. I was at home, man. I don't know what happened.
Man, I was always sober, so I was always good to de-escalate.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess the people we hung around with were bigger than us.
Oh, some of those other guys, yeah.
But what I've noticed, like the people who are confident with those situations be the most peaceful people ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Always.
Yeah, so a couple of people have said that to me before, right?
Yeah.
And what it is, I think of these types of people, and usually when you get these high-level martial artists, you've got special forces soldiers who have had the pleasure of training and knowing quite a few of them just in my time now. They're always the most humble, quiet, unassuming people, right? So usually what I tend to find, it's a quote, but I just go, oh yeah, I've seen this enough, is like empty ships make the biggest noise, right? So people who have got no real skills and just full of bluster, they're the ones causing trouble and nice and loud.
Yeah.
And the people who are under fire and chaos, you look for the person who's calm, right? Because they're the people with skills. Their stress levels are not reacting, right? They know what to do, know how to handle themselves, they've got control of themselves. And actually they're the people that under stress turn towards to look for leadership. It's the calm person in the ship that's sinking.
What are those guys like? Some of those combat guys. I mean, obviously you just said they're cool, calm, collected, but when they're in that mode, where even in training, where they hit that gear.
Yeah, I mean, training, the same as any high-level martial artist. When you're in that mode, you're just going through what you train. There's something I usually just say to people, this line as well, and you've seen it on TV. When you've seen soldiers on TV and they've done some heroic act, maybe they got a VC or something out of it, and they're getting interviewed, and they're always going, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking to do that such a brave act? You know what they always say? And actually sports people say the same thing too, in high level, great. We fell back on my training. I just fall back on my training. It's just they go back to their training because they've put themselves in that experience. It's pattern recognition, right? Because now when it happens in real life, I've been through these patterns before. And so your stress level doesn't react as much. You know how to perform in this instance, and then you go fall back to your training. And that's why these people are cool, calm, and collected. Because you're not going to fluster them because they've been through it. It's all about perspective on it.
Just making the right moves. They've seen every type of situation.
Yeah. And the more experience you have, the more exposure you have to this, it just helps you.
Was there anyone in particular you were looking to, or like, to help you, guide you through working with them, or just in your initial stages of?
No, I always just gravitate. If I find someone who's more knowledgeable than me or is excelled in their field, I'll identify them and I'm just going to be a sponge around them. I'm a white belt. I'm a student around them. Yeah. And even though I might not be 100% of the things they say, I'm like, oh, I know that part. Oh, that part's not relevant. That is gold. So I'll just be a sponge around those people because there's always something I can take from them or absorb from them, not taking.
Do you feel weird being around regular people?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting when I train with some of like the high level students and other instructors that I'm friends with, because we've got the same type of headspace and where we train, how we train, and understanding of violence, and just then you just see what we just call normies, or just people who live their normal life, and they get flustered over silly things and they get angry, and just relax, right? It's not that hard. Just peace and love, and if someone wants to take that from you, I'll put them back in their place best I can. Yeah, it is a little bit. It's a weird.
Yeah, it said in the comments way, but it sounds terrifying.
It's weird.
Just relax.
It's weird to answer it. I don't know
Someone
how to
wants
answer
to take
it
that. Don't worry about
It's
it.
not gonna happen.
We'll get it back.
okay.
They won't even take it. That's cool. Man.
Yeah,
We see that in sports. We feel that in sport all the time. It's like
exactly. There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, but like, I've had trouble with those.
I was gonna say, how do you go with that? Are you thinking, damn, maybe I should do some of this martial arts?
I need to calm down. I need to learn to relax.
Well, I think that what would be helpful is that, like, when you like go against guys who, like, say you're in a situation, you're fighting someone at the gym, like, and we're going through stuff, and you're like you're getting upset and angry, and they're completely calm. No, they're not going to hit you. You just can't hit them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that you're outmatched, even though they're completely calm.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then over time you realize that no matter how elevated you get, it doesn't lead to a better outcome.
You still get humbled.
You don't do anything. They're just still calm, and they're relying on their training, and it's the training that makes a difference rather than just the emotion and the bluster.
The emotions don't really matter.
If you got through that, then I think that then you'd go that next level where you realize that when things aren't going your way, you just go back to your training. You go back to your moves. You go back to what's needed to get through the situation. But I think, just someone in your situation, like, you're bigger, stronger, more skillful than most people. So when you add emotion to that, you usually win, usually more dominant. Whereas when you can't win because you just realize that it's not enough, so it was someone who knows what they're doing.
Well, while learning, I try to stay away from that. Like, I'm just relating it all to basketball because that's the easiest thing. Like, while I was learning, because I was bigger and everything, I was like trying to not rely on that.
Yeah,
big guys, you get successful at just being bigger, pushing people around, and then you find someone who can match that. Now you don't have the skills to go back to.
Yeah.
Mental it's completely underrated. Like, the mental edge, it's a superpower. Like, if Shaq was more mentally focused, he'd probably be recognized as the greatest player of all time.
Well, who said he's not recognized? He's up there. What you mean? He's
up there, but he ain't number one.
He's not number one.
But
there's that interview with Kobe, and Shaq recognized that himself. Yeah, I mean, he got involved in rap, and he got involved with the movies, and he got involved in everything else. Yeah. And he recognizes that, if he had been just locked in at basketball, him and Kobe would have had 15 rings or something.
Yeah, I feel like Kobe would have been a crazy. Even if he had never done any martial arts, I feel like if anybody just tried to do anything with him, first the security guys will take care of it. But yeah, I would like he would be so calm, just.
That's that mentality. That's why he's got Mamba mentality. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, and you see that. Like, I think you'd recognize that with Kobe particularly, Jordan. Like, there's not a big show. It's not a big show. They're just doing the work. Like, someone's yelling and screaming. It doesn't mean they're not emotional, but they're just calmly that that it doesn't get out of hand. They're just calmly relying on their skills and getting the job done.
You meditate as well? You meditate at all?
Yeah, not frequently.
Yeah.
Because I've just too much on. But when I try to find things slow down a bit, I'll definitely try to get on it. There's things to that for sure. Benefits to that.
Yeah. I like that. What else has been on you guys' mind, man? What's going on? What's happening? How's life? How's everything?
Life.
What's good?
Life's good, man.
What's happening?
Life's
Anything
good.
you've been pondering? Anything you've just been? Anything new you've seen? You've been in that for so long. Anything you've been,
Like, I'm very interested to see, like, your mentality amongst confrontation in your sporting arena. Now that Kirron's been touching on you, I'm like, oh, I'm
What is
interested
your
to-
mentality in confrontation, or if other players, for example, don't lift to the level of competition that you would like?
teammates even. Oh, yeah.
Teammates. What is your mentality, Tam? How do you respond?
This is fresh.
It is fresh.
Nah, so
It is all good, but what is your mentality?
I think it's like, as you said, as the level gets high and high, depending on where you want to get to. Everyone I know who's kind of like succeeded in what they wanted have a little something off. I don't know if it's off, but something makes them step towards confrontation. So when, especially like if us three are together in Townsville, and someone tried to come at us, and obviously would be calm, cool. But if we wanted to protect our family and all that, and one of us is just like not into it or not helping us as much as they could be. After the situation is done, it's like, what are you doing? Like a normie, if a normie was with you. But they're saying, no, I'm not a normie. I'm a
Fighter.
I want to be a fighter.
I feel like you get that a lot in sports. You get people who will think that they're a chess beater.
They're
but
saying
then
they want
they're not pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, and you can tell because when you feel great when you give everything and like whatever the outcome is, whatever outcome,
So Tem finds it difficult to tolerate people like that. People who say they want to be good at basketball. People who will turn up to a game.
Talk the talk, but don't walk the walk.
But in the game, they don't bring that level of energy regardless of opposition. They might bring it in certain situations. You know what I mean? Like if the opposition does something or there's a vibe or the crowd or coach is yelling at them. But they're not bringing it just because they want to bring it. And I think that's where you get frustrated is
they don't know how fun that is. Because you're not being an asshole. You're just playing hard within the rules, within...
Yeah, but it's not necessary. What they're saying is it's not necessary.
Well, then they fucking lose. They lose.
I agree.
Like,
I'm just saying, but you get frustrated by that.
Yeah. And then that's on my journey. And it's not all the time.
Then
sometimes I really like, so good.
Do you yell?
Huh?
Do you yell at these people, these poor people?
These poor people.
These poor sad.
Framing this a certain way.
These normies.
But sometimes.
But see, it sounds like it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. This is what coaches do all the time.
Yeah, I'm like, if you can't handle me
coaches
doing
are
this.
no, but coaches are like, we need to lift now.
Yeah.
Now, what are my techniques to make you lift? You know what I mean? Like people, I need you to yell at me. I need you to scream at me. I need you to ride me so that I lift. Why? Because I'm not going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And as a coach, I'm always like, well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Why don't you want to do it yourself? Like, surely you love the game. Surely you want to play hard. And often the response is, well, I'm used to someone else doing it for me. So because I'm used to someone else doing it for me, you're going to have to do it.
So do you ever feel guilty for not doing it if that's what they need?
No, never. I just say all this. Well, actually, I changed my mind a couple of times around it because often I find that yelling, they don't respond anyway. So they're just trying to find another way not to respond.
Yeah.
So again, if someone needs me to yell, I'm happy to yell. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if someone needs me to have a quiet word to them, I'm happy to have a quiet word to them. But I've got to try different ways to get them to lift that level up because the level they're at, whether they weren't ready for pre-game, they didn't mentally get ready, whether they got in their own head because they're missing shots, whether someone's talking trash to them, whether the other team's coming at a really high level and they've basically become submissive. They've just submitted to the other team and just, getting through the motions. They're going through the motions rather than actually competing. Whereas, and I'm trying to help them. My intention is to help them compete, to step up and see what they can do. Go to the training. What are your moves? But often they've already submitted. They don't want to actually try that. And that's what gets me the most is when they don't want to do that. So as a coach,
you're telling them, hey, I've seen those.
I've seen what you can do.
I've seen what you can do. I think you can handle, but it's like where you're trying to get to, there is someone who doesn't care about your feelings. There's a coach who is going to abuse you, maybe. That could happen. But you're going to be around high-level people who want it more than you. So if you don't at least... And we've given them techniques. That's my biggest thing. Is like, because a few of the techniques I learned from Kirron. One was have your routine, because we're all different, have your routine of getting to that space. So you said like, hey, for you, it take like, I need an hour before the game to warm up. And in that hour, I'm preparing for the combat, for the game. In that hour, it's like, okay, I'm doing my shooting. I'm mentally preparing for the opposition. I may know who I'm playing against. So I'm already sizing up, okay, what will work, what won't work, how can I get an advantage?
How am I going to score? How am I going to defend? And
you plan that. And so I'm like, okay, hey, you don't have to be that type of person, but you kind of have to step outside of yourself to, even you have to fake it at first. You will eventually figure it out.
But you got to find a way to get yourself ready. And I think, like, going to martial arts, like if you went into a competition and whether you're too heightened, whether you're scared, whether you're worried, whether you're not prepared, whether like that stuff you got to regulate all the time, because if you went into a martial arts competition and the other person came out really, really aggressively and you weren't ready and you just got overpowered, you're done. But you can't also be crazy and trying to overpower them because if they know how to just counter that, you've wasted all your energy. Yeah. So when you come to and the biggest thing in basketball is there is no consequences except that you lose.
Yeah, that's it.
In martial arts, there's immediate consequences. Or boxing or MMA or
you may not have an hour to prepare.
You don't have an hour. like you're in that situation. If you can't lock in and get it done, the consequences is physical damage, and it could be anything. And I think that's the cool thing I really liked about Krav was that it was real. Physical confrontation, as you said, is real. In basketball, like you can yell at people and they're like, oh, Tem always yells, he's always mad at me, whatever. Like they come up with anything they want. Yeah. It's not real. I go home.
It's a game.
It's a game.
And as soon as the game's done, we're cool.
We're cool. Whereas
you're going home to go have dinner and chill with your loved ones.
And family still loves you.
Yeah, I feel good. I made money if I'm a professional. Whereas, and that's why you got to prepare because it's not a life and death situation.
Yeah.
And those people who've come from the ghettos in America and stuff, and that's their way out. They have a why, and they have more motivation to get ready to perform, and they're going to perform because they're used to it.
They're used to that.
Martial arts, on the other hand, it's real. Someone's in there trying to hurt you. You've got to be ready to go. Yeah. I think it's.
You see also with the mental side of it. This is more on the sporting side, so I deal more with the self-defense. I don't do so much of the sporting. I train in it. I know the skills, but I focus more on the self-defense. It just interests me more. It's more of a practical skill. Yeah. But you'll see in the fighting arena, which is still a sport, fighters have lost a match before they even get in, like because of the psychological battle that goes on before the fight. And you see that with famous ones, with Conor McGregor, where he's just running these, all that talk and stuff. It's all psychological games. And guys are getting in there, they're beaten already. You just got to go in and put the physical touches on it. And that's a whole mental, and there's a whole mental game on that, breaking other person's psyche. And you see this in military warfare back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paint our faces, scream here, and you try and put the fear and the other things.
The moldy.
So all of a sudden you hit them with the physical, they're their mind breaks first,
Yeah.
the physical goes. Like,
And
it's
then
always
that's
been
done.
a mind game.
And then it's done. Like if you got the mind game sorted, then the other person breaks, it's over.
That's it. Military warfare, fighting with personal, and then
Yeah.
comes into sports as well.
Unless, and this is what I love about it, unless you have complete faith in your techniques. So America's great with their shock and awe tactics, and they had a whole thing, shock and awe.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make really loud bangs. We're going to do lots of lights. We're going to make it look like we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. And you go into Afghanistan and they're like, cool.
You don't even know this environment.
But like they just go into their caves.
Yeah.
They let you do your thing.
Yeah.
They let you come to them, and then or Vietnam, they went into their tunnels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So America's doing all the shock and awe and the rah-rah stuff, and they just knew their terrain better. So they knew their own technique. So they didn't get caught up in it. They were prepared to fight on their terms. They didn't try to fight them, the bigger, badder guy. They're like, no, we're just going to go to tunnels. At nighttime, we'll get you.
So I make so many analogies when I'm teaching. I love it, it's my interest, but the parallels right there between warfare and then personal violence. So me being in a fight with someone and then military battles of army sizes are the same.
Yep.
Right?
What you mean?
So, for example, like where he's talking about where the mental side, how these the Afghan war, Vietnam war, these guys, they've kept their mental side of it and they've gone to their asymmetrical warfare, which was fighting the jungles and tunnels and stuff like that, against the shock and awe of the mighty military power. So that asymmetrical warfare, I teach this, like for personal violence. So it's a little bit out of like also Sun Tzu's Art of War, stuff like this, talk about it as well, where, for example, if I run up against Atem in a violence encounter, and that's who I train for. Is
I do not want to be in that situation.
But
You already beat it. You already beat it.
maybe I've got the
I'm not going to this
psychological.
shit, man.
The psychological warfare.
Because I know what he's going to do first. Because this is what I trained in Atem. I know exactly the first move.
Yeah, bro, I'm staying in my corner over there. I'm not
No, but there's real things, right? And the thing is, life is real, and then some people don't live in reality, and that's fine. But reality will come and bite you. And the real things for you, and I'm using it as an example because of your stature.
Tall, good looking, athletic.
Hey, man.
Well, maybe tall. I'll go with tall.
I'm just trying to help you out, bro.
blushing here, man.
I'm just trying to help you out. Like stature doesn't encapsulate what. He's thinking of attacking your eyes, so you're not looking good anymore.
Is that the first tactic?
No.
I just.
But
I was curious.
leveraging. No. Well, you're too tall. I can't be the first one.
Yeah.
But leaving what Kirron was saying was, there's some real things about you. Tall, you're longer, you could probably generate more power, stuff like this. And so, just like in warfare, I got to fight asymmetrical. So I got to find that everyone has assets and liabilities. I can see a few of your assets, got longer reach, maybe generate more power. So I'm going to stay away from your assets and I'm going to exploit your liabilities, right? And I'm going to try and employ my assets. So just like he said with the warfare, it's the exact analogy I teach.
Yeah.
I'm a Viet Cong or an Afghan Taliban, and I'm against the shock and awe of the American military power. I'm not going to come out and fight you where your assets are. I'm not going to match to your assets. I'm going to go to where your liabilities are, and I'm going to exploit that. And I'm going to use my assets, which is I know the lay of the land. I know the local populace, like all these other things. That happens in warfare, exactly happens in a battle for personal violence, one-on-one.
So how are you attacking him?
How am I attacking him? Well, how am I defending myself against him?
Yeah, sorry, my bad. How are you defending yourself against this guy? Because we wouldn't attack anyone.
Yeah. Am I the only one? Are we the only ones here? Call my Uber to be ready, right?
We'll
Might
find
need an
out.
ambulance first.
Hey,
Just saying.
I'm getting a little scared here. But okay.
So what is it? Like someone taller? What's the?
So, and here's the thing, because I'm shorter, right? And so I've learnt a lot of my martial arts from taller, bigger guys. And I have to look at them and go, that won't work for me, right? So because it's a disadvantage. So I can't use length, I can't use power generation, I can't use weight. So I've got to figure out other assets to try and nullify yours and improve my probability of getting an outcome on you. So usually it's the shorter people you got to be more worried about. And it's an old adage too. Like when you see a really short bouncer, it's like
I've seen videos. And it's very clear sometimes when someone knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how
But
big you are.
smaller people have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because, so for you, for example, I can't, the way I would deal with someone my height and weight, even Kirron's height and weight, is different to you.
Yeah.
So I'd have to exploit, I'm probably going to be quicker than you.
Yeah.
Right? You're athletic too, so you play sports, so that's always going to be in your favor. But I'm going to be exploiting vulnerable points on you. So I'm going to do stuff that it's hard for you to defend. It's going to hurt you a lot. But I have to.
He's just saying he's going to kick you.
I'm done. I'm done.
And you're like, you're not going to want to get kicked anymore.
I mean, I told you about the story where I got kicked. And this is great because you learn through losing.
Oh, that's with everything.
It's like I've learned a good kick can
end the fight.
Can get you to retreat.
can allow you to defend yourself effectively.
But I was a smart one that day. I used my verbal tactics. Hey, yo, what are we even fighting for?
Hey, we're good.
Bro, world peace, bro. What's good? What is going on?
And when he stops, bah.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, man. Oh.
When he turns his head.
Yeah.
Right. This guy.
Didn't do that. I knew that guy was
So are you
serious.
kicking him in the knees? Or are you kicking in more vulnerable places?
Yeah, more vulnerable places.
See, straight away, boom.
But knees are not also out of the picture either.
What's that?
The knees are also on the menu.
Knees are always great. Like a big tall guy plays basketball, kick him in the knee.
Oh,
laterally,
like laterally on his knee.
You know what's going straight through his mind? I'm never gonna walk again. Like he's not fighting you anymore.
Fighting anyone. I've never. That's why I don't. You don't start fighting.
So you're like, it's like boom, straight to the knee.
Well, yeah, like most people think, it's gonna be like a setup. Hey, 1-on-1, let's get into this.
Yeah.
We're like, nah.
Well, you'd be proud. I was fighting Taylor today, and she kicked me straight in the knee. I was like, "What the?"
This is a game.
She's like, "Oh, sorry," and I was like,
"She's all playing for keeps."
You're good. I was like, "God damn, lucky that would done my ACL."
Yeah, I might need to bring my nephews there. Because it's this day and age, they don't even go outside.
Yeah,
I mentioned this before. I'm begging the mother. Yo, let them go outside. Let them just go meet the other kids. Go to the park. Go enjoy the sun. Go enjoy something.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I've been teaching in this space for a while now, over a decade, and I'm actually seeing the change in the generation of kids coming through and becoming young adults. I'm seeing the difference in the weaker mentality, the physical as well. There's a drop off. Just the basic coordination. This is why I love getting sports people. It's like, okay, you can at least stand and move your limbs. Like it's just there's a big drop off over the last few decades, where it's just like, you know what? And martial arts is great because it covers everything.
Yeah,
mobility, agility, balance, power, like everything.
How do you deal with that?
It's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
Getting harder and harder.
What's your plan? Because we talk about it all the time. We need a plan because it's not changing. We need some sort of something.
That's why I get the kids into it. Like you get into martial arts, you got to get them into stuff. Yeah. You got to take them out into the world. But I think we got to go back to as well, like more adult interaction. So you take your nephews out, to a park, go play basketball with some strangers, like. Go, near where I live, they got a basketball court, like, and there's people who go meet there and think, but you might have to take them down there because they don't know how to talk to anyone, until they get used to it and realize everyone's cool. Whereas people used to run into people, like it wasn't
it
was just a thing. But I think that now you've got to almost get them out, show them that the world's not too scary, and if they're too worried about it, get them involved, because I got them involved anyway into self-defense stuff, so you know how to do something and run, and then...
Even if you just want to de-escalate and talk, well, your voice shakes less when you know you can back it up.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. If you're not scared of talking, you know what I mean? Like again, we learned that. Like, how do you de-escalate verbally? Like, if you learn how to do that, that's a skill you now have. So you're not sitting there wondering what to do. You've done it. You've done it, lots of times in a practice situation. So when you get to the situation, you don't have to go into the fight thing. You don't have to be bigger and stronger. You can just be calm and you have the conversation, and you've got a couple of options. And if it doesn't work, then I go to option plan B and plan C and plan D, rather than just now I don't know what to do. So, yeah. And I think it's, I'm a big proponent of learning, Krav as a, should be a staple for anyone who wants to learn more about themselves. Yeah, and I encourage it. So, yeah, definitely if you can get your nephews involved, it'd be a good thing.
Do you want to, what do you want to leave the people with? Kirron doesn't stop talking. Kirron just never stops.
I'm usually right. I just
anything you want to leave people with who are interested, not interested, curious, anything you
I can just speak my truth on it, which is just get out in the world. I don't even care if you don't even come do Krav. Do something physical.
Come do Krav.
Come do Krav.
Well, if you just don't want to waste your time on something, sure. But get out in the world, do something physical, interact, challenge yourself, right? Just do these basic little things. You're going to grow as a person.
Yeah.
However, in my space with this Krav and kinetic fighting space, yeah, it's another level again. The confidence you get out of it, the physical stuff that people are not getting anymore, the confidence with just defending yourself, and then you can walk also into a boardroom and then do your meeting, and you also can talk with confidence. There's a lot of carryover that carries into all parts of your life.
And what you learn about yourself. I think that you're very humble in how you describe it, but the fact that you have to go through all those things yourself to be comfortable to express yourself in it's a protected environment because it's a training environment. Now you've got comfort. You've trained it all, so now you're comfortable just portraying who you are and knowing who you are, and it's something that we don't get to do enough. I don't think. I think that we in today's society we hide away from to protect ourselves, so we don't have to grow in that way. Yeah. And the only way you're going to learn about yourself is you put yourself in safe situations where you can explore who am I in these situations and work on it. And it's not going to be right the first time or the second time. But you do it for a few months, a couple of years, and you work out who you are. Now when you get into a situation, whether it's the boardroom, at university, on a basketball court, or in some sort of, conflict situation, you've been through that. It's not the first time you've seen it.
Yeah. Exposure is the word I say often.
Exposure.
Getting that exposure. And then it puts things in perspective for you. You can align yourself with how you want to be in that space. A lot of people have an idea of where they want to be and who they want to be. But if you haven't got the confidence and skills to back yourself, you're not going to reach those goals.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have one request.
Sure.
If that's okay. When Kirron comes back, I would love to come with my camera and just see what I don't know, participating. I'd love to just come with my camera and just see how.
Oh, you mean back into the gym?
Yeah, when you get back in the gym,
Next year, 2024.
Let's do it.
I'll be there, 2024 first.
I'll go one better. We'll set up the camera and then you can also jump in as well.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
I will. Yes, I will do that. Cause thank you for coming and sharing that with the people. And when you come back on the show, would you bring Paul with you?
Oh, we'll see what I can do.
That'd be amazing.
He's a busy man.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, man. Well, I want to have so much more to ask as well, but you've left us with some great stuff. And get out in the world. Surge's Podcast. Go subscribe, like, do all that. Get out in the world.
We'll put links for Primal Krav Maga as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right.
Cheers. God bless. Love you all. Have a good one. Surge's Podcast.